The Witcher Blood Origin is out on Netflix, new spin-off miniseries from the Witcher universe. This one is a 4-episode prequel taking place over 1,000 years before the events of The Witcher itself, in the time leading up to the conjunction of the spheres, which brought humans and monsters into the world of the books. Which also means it takes place in the old Elven society and centers around a group of 7 unlikely heroes coming together to defeat a great evil. Now, if that sounds generic as fuck, it's about right. The show itself is generic in the worst ways possible. It is also simultaneously boring and rushed. Poorly written and made, it manages to be a disappointment even when I expected nothing from it, and it's just a terrible, terrible waste of time. And thinking about it afterwards, there was one question running around in my mind, which was, who was this made for? Because, see, if you're a big fan of The Witcher books and games, as am I, you are most likely already pissed off at the way the main series diverged from the source material and became its own much worse thing. Blood Origin is just more of the same in that regard. Even though there is little connection to the Witcher series, it still manages to break the established lore in significant ways, including the origins of the Witchers and the Elder Blood. So, for fans of the source material, this show will be nothing else than just more fuel for frustration. Okay, so maybe it's for someone who liked the Netflix show and wanted to see something more in that universe. Well, in that case, I'd imagine it would be pretty damn exciting to have a show about this elven society with everything a little familiar but mostly new and fresh, seeing as it's a different race, completely different time period, different society, essentially almost a different world. Well, let me assure you, there is no feeling of something new here. The elven society, as shown in this show, is pretty much exactly the same as the human one from the main series. Characters look the same, speak the same, dress the same, they have similar rules and laws and political structures and social problems. It just feels like exactly the same thing. So the question that comes on is, what's the point in setting the story this far back in the past? I mean, if you're going to set it 1,000 years before the main events, it should feel different. It should feel new. It should feel like we're exploring a completely different part of this world, and it just simply doesn't. And also, listen, I know there's been a lot of comments online, some of them hurtful, about the look of elves and dwarves and characters in general in the main series, and some of those points I don't agree with. A lot of them I do. But what Blood Origin does in this regard is it's just egregious. There's no excuse. Most of those characters in the show look like regular human thugs, and they have tattoos and a lot of muscle and short hair, and then the silly pointy ears just glued on. They don't even look like elves, and they don't behave like elves. And so again, what is the point then? So okay, maybe the show is meant to draw in an entirely new audience. Maybe it's meant to interest people who haven't seen the main series yet and just like fantasy in general. Well, no fucking way that is going to happen, because from the perspective of an outsider, there's simply nothing engaging about the show. The plot and the world are generic as fuck, the character interactions are paper thin, the writing is just atrocious, especially the dialogue, which once again, like The Witcher, seems like a sort of edgy teenager's idea of adult dialogue. The writers think that simply inserting profanity and quips automatically means that the show becomes smart. No, it doesn't. The production design, costumes, locations, hairstyles, as I said, props, all just boring as shit. And there was not a single scene which made me think, oh wow, this looks very pretty. The action is poorly shot and the CGI is just horrible. It's just a big bag of crap, if you ask me. The best thing about the show is that it's only 4 episodes long, but even then I seriously debated dropping it in between them, which is something I think I never do actually. I don't remember the last show which I started and didn't finish, even though I didn't like it. So I did end up finishing this one as well, mostly just so that I'm not unfair to it, in case it suddenly becomes awesome in the final episode. But of course, it didn't. Watching it was almost masochistic, and I strongly recommend everyone to stay as far away from it as possible. It's kind of mind-boggling to me that within the last 12 months or so, I've seen Halo, Rings of Power, Wheel of Time, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and all of them were various degrees of disappointment. And out of them all, Blood Origin is still just easily the worst. Avoid it at all cost.